I am on page 21. We're looking at decimal operations. And I know you have a calculator for these, and I would definitely use that on the test. But just so that you'll have a complete reference, I want you to know how to do these if you want to know. We've already talked a little bit about rounding, but let me do an example. If you open up this rounding door, and I can't do that on here, I'm just going to write mine on the outside. But if you open the little red door, there's space in there for you to write this example. And let's just put inside that door round, I'm just going to make up a number. Let's do 12.9635 to the nearest thousandth. So you want to underline the place that's going to be rounded. And in this case, it's the thousandth place. And in that place is the number 3. So underline the place you want to round. And then look at the neighbor. If the neighbor is 5 or more, you're going to round up. So the 3 becomes a 4. And then the other numbers in front do not change. Anything after that 4 becomes rounded, or in this case, drops away. So to the nearest thousandth, you would have 12 and 964 thousandths. This is an important skill, this green door, if you want to compare decimals. So maybe the instructions say to compare 6.3 and 6.265. So the way this one works, you want to stack your decimals up on the decimal point. Just like you're going to add them. Put in filler zeros as needed. You're not changing the value at all. So this tells me that 6.3 is greater than 6.265. 6.300 is greater than 6.265. So when they say to compare, you will use greater than or less than. You may also use equal to. Sometimes you will have decimals that come out to be equal. If you want to add decimals or find the sum, let's do 3.96 plus 2.085. And I'm going to add one up here at the top. Let's do 115. So 115 is a whole number. The decimal would be right there. And then I'm going to fill in the placeholders so that it's nice and evened up. That will help you to not miss anything important. So just put in those placeholders as needed and add around them. So we have a 5, 14, 10, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 1. Again, on a test, I would use a calculator, and I am going to actually check myself with the calculator if I can find my calculator. There it is. It's buried under a stack of stuff. So 115 plus 3 and 96 hundredths plus 2 and 85 thousandths. And yes, that is the correct answer. To subtract decimals, let's use the example 16 minus 0.003. So again, you want to line up your decimals on the decimal points. And for the 16, that's a whole number, so you would need to add your decimal point. Add your zeros to even things up, and then subtract from there. Now you can't take 3 from nothing, so we're going to come over here and borrow from that 6. You can't jump numbers. You can only go next door. Then borrow 1 from that one to give to this one. And borrow 1 from this one to give to this one. And then you can subtract. Don't forget this 1 over here. So let me check that. We have 16 minus 3 thousandths. And yes, that is the correct answer. To multiply decimals, let's find the product of 3.01 and 0.12. On this one, it doesn't matter how you line them up, other than we need to line them up to be multiplied. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 3 is 6. Add a 0 to move over. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 3 is 3, and you add the partial products. So you get 2, 1, 6, and 3. And then we need to count decimal places. So there are 2 plus 2 more, that's 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. The decimal would go right there. The calculator will put that leader on there for you. So 3 1/100th times 12 hundredths is 3,612 thousandths. And then to divide decimals, let's do 15 divided by 0.005. This number is called the dividend. This number is called the divisor. And if you're putting it in the calculator, you put it in just like that. If you're working it longhand, you have to put it in a frame. So the dividend goes in the house. The divisor goes outside the house. And we have to move the decimal in the divisor. You cannot divide with a decimal. So I'm going to move it all the way to the end here. And that crossed 3 spaces. So we're going to move this decimal the same number of spaces. So 1, 2, 3, and straight up. And these become zeros. So we are dividing 5 into 15,000 now. So 5 cannot go into 1. It can go into 15 3 times. But we're not finished. This is not a remainder because we still have places to drop. 5 into 0 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. Then I drop the next 0. That is 0. This is very important, or you're going to end up with a quotient that is too small. And this is the third one that I'm bringing down. And so this time, when we come down here, there's nothing else to bring down. So you have your answer. And that answer is called the quotient. So you have the dividend, the divisor, and the quotient. And that is a review of decimal operations.